It's time for the world's largest single-site golf tournament. We'll tell you all about it coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Myrtle Beach Golf Holiday. We're focused on the 20th annual DuPont Cool Max World Amateur Handicap Championship, and we're visiting with Joan O'Donnell, an incredible active member of the tournament for the last 20 years. It's amazing. Thank you, Joan, for coming in.
Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. Joan, real quick about yourself. Were you originally from the area?
No, I was born in England and lived in America for 37 years. And I was working in Raleigh, and then I came to this area.
Okay, that's great. What originally brought you to Myrtle Beach?
Well, I had separated from my husband, and I was in a sort of trial separation period. What did I want to do? So my husband and I used to play golf here, and I decided I'd take 3 months. Well, I was playing at Roberts Roost one day, and I happened to see poor Himmelsbeck's office at that time was located at Roberts Roost Golf Course. I went over to purchase a magazine, the On the Green magazine, and at the end I stayed about an hour, and he offered me a job. And so I never went back to my husband, and I stayed with poor Himmelsbeck for 14 years.
Is that right? How exhilarating, just to be in there and within an hour to be offered a position.
Well, he asked me how good my accounting was, and I said I can't even balance my checkbook. But he said, well, you can run an adding machine surely, and I said, yes, I can do that. And he said, well, you know, I'm just new, I've only been a few years trying to get on the green off the ground, and come and join us. So that's how I got started.
That's fantastic. Are you still with Himmelsbach Communications?
In a roundabout way. I've retired from them 7 years ago, but I still work the DuPont from their office, the part I have in it anyway.
That's fantastic. As a volunteer for the last 7 years.
Yes.
That is wonderful. Well, what's your favorite pastime now, your activities, now that you've stepped away a little bit? Obviously you're very active as a volunteer with the tournament, but anything?
Well, I like to swim and go out on the intercoastal waterway on boats when I get the chance. And I bowl occasionally. I'm trying to get back into golf. I let it go a few years ago, and I'm just trying to get back into that now. I just like mingling with people and having a good time.
Yes, Joan, having a good time.
I like to keep myself active as I'm retired. I do not want to be at 11 o'clock in the morning having my 10th cup of coffee with rollers in my hair. I just try to keep my mind and myself active.
Joan, you were active with the first tournament. What was that like?
Hell on earth.
Yeah, be candid.
It was, none of us knew what to expect. You know, we were told this tournament was going to take part, or place rather, and I guess we had all different inputs, what was going to happen, what wasn't, but people let you down and other things came into play that we hadn't anticipated. But all in all, it was good. I think the fun part of that whole thing was our first night when we had reception and we were feeding the people. And Uncle Jimmy, who had never served more than 60 people in his whole career, he had a little catering business. He catered barbecue ribs and baked beans for us. And of course there were 800 of us, not 60, and he brought in these big aluminum trays full of baked beans and another one with the barbecue ribs, and he put them on the table and people were supposed to help themselves, but he had forgotten to bring the white paper tablecloths. He had forgotten the napkins, so, and he got the flimsiest plates, and all the beans and barbecue were falling through, and people were walking. The whole convention floor was terrible. People couldn't shake hands with each other because they had all these beans and barbecue. So I think that was one of my first memories. And the other one was the pros had to bring the scorecards in.
Right.
And as they brought them in, they had to post them on the sheets. And the first day was fine. I mean, you may have Tom Smith up there, and his score was correct. But the next day, another pro would bring them in, or the assistant pro, and he would put the next day's scores, and they didn't add up right. So then the participants would come over with these marker pens and put the right score. So we had nothing but big score sheets all overwritten and ugly, ugly, ugly. You know how they could ever tell scores, I don't know. And it ended up at the end of the evening with the participants tearing the sheets down for souvenirs if they were in first place or something.
Sure.
So it's a great difference to today when everything is done on the computer.
Mm-hmm. Joan, were you surprised at the number that turned out for that first tournament in 1984?
Yes and no. I mean, if you read Golf Digest, they did a lot of advertising for that. I think they spent like $130,000, you know, to get people to come. And they had good participation. They had people from various countries and many states that came in answer to that.
And the access to computers has probably been one of the greatest changes in the tournament?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt.
What are your thoughts when you consider how this tournament has grown and watch people return year after year after year?
I think it's remarkable that, you know, people that first came years ago with like 2 people or a husband and a wife, suddenly they're bringing 4 people with them and 8 people with them. And I think that's remarkable that the tournament has grown that way, and the camaraderie that has come out of this. People have had weddings here. People make this their annual retreat to come every year. I mean, you'll see so many reunions on Sunday when we have our registration. And there's great reunions, hugs and kisses all the time. And I think I've enjoyed seeing that and being a part of that and having people come up. I mean, 20 years is a long time. We've only got like 23 original 20 years now, but we still have a lot of others, 14, 16 years. And they come up and you've learned that they've had children, their grandparents and all this kind of thing. So you feel part of a big family. And I enjoy that aspect of it.
Absolutely, Joan. That must be very inspiring to see the gradual change. And as you say, to see players now grandparents who may not have even been parents at that time.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Amazing, amazing. How do you think the Grand Strand has benefited from its involvement in the tournament?
Very much so. Years ago, we never had half of the features that they have now, like the Hard Rock Cafe or nightclubs. You have to remember that last week in August, a lot of the restaurants were closing down and everything. So there wasn't a lot for people to do, and they used to all congregate in the convention center. So I've seen great growth, you know, with Broadway at the beach and all the new theaters that have come on board since then. So there's been many, many changes. And I think, again, this is one of the attractions that brings people back here time and time again with their families, because they can go to the theater, 1,600 restaurants to select from, so many different things.
Joan, am I correct that Paul was involved in coming up with the idea about having the tournament?
Yes, he and Marvin Armstorff. Marvin Armstorff was with Golf Digest, and they were in Atlanta having lunch one day, and they said, well, we have a number of golf courses here. Be nice if we could have this big tournament, and they were talking about maybe getting 1,500 people here. Well, I say, how we survived with 680, I have no idea, but anyway, it never came to fruition that we got the 1,500, but that was the general idea that that they would start this tournament. And I say, we didn't have much idea how to go about it. He's put me in a car one day and said, go for 2 days, you know, to Raleigh, Greensboro, anywhere around North Carolina, South Carolina. I want you to go to all the radio stations, television stations, newspaper offices, and golf courses, and tell them about our tournament. And I said, well, what do I have to tell them? And he said, oh, no, ad lib. So when I go to a newspaper office, if I could get an interview with somebody or see the editor, he would say, well, how are you going to run this? And there were lots of, I don't know. How many flights? I have no idea. And it went like this. But looking at the figures, I think our biggest representation that first year was from North and South Carolina.
Absolutely, yes. Joan, lastly, what have you enjoyed the most from being a part of this event?
again, the camaraderie and working with all of our volunteers over the years has been, I mean, we've had 150, we're down to about 80 at the moment, but working with them, being part of their families. But I think the biggest thing is being involved with all the pros. My job has always been involved with the scorecards and getting all the relevant papers out to the golf courses and making sure the golf carts go in and come back every day. And again, touching base with all the pros. I've seen them getting married. I danced at Kent Chismar's wedding. He's a pro still today. And Gene Weldon, I've been with him through the years, seeing how he's conducted the various flights. Tim Tilmer get married. He's had 2 children. And of course, when we meet with the pros, as we do once a year, it's nice they get their photographs out and show me their children. And again, if their cat has died or mum has died or something like this, it's my whole thing is just general involvement with everybody. And the fact that as old as I am and as long as I've been with it, we all respect each other and we're all friends.
Respect, friendship, camaraderie is the word. Joan O'Donnell, 20 years working with the DuPont Cool Max World Amateur Handicap Championship. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Joan.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to Al Dorrie coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at Myrtle Beach Golf Holiday. We're focused on the 20th annual DuPont Cool Max World Amateur Handicap Championship, and we're visiting with Al Dorrie, the co-chair, along with Jay McPherson of the Volunteers. Good morning, Al.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Incredible opportunity to think about all that y'all do and have done for the last 15-plus years involved with making this tournament a big success. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Real quick about yourself, Al. Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm from New Jersey, and I retired and moved down here in 1988.
And you've been involved almost with the tournament since you got here?
Yeah, since 3 months. I was only here 3 months, and I started getting involved in it, yeah.
How did you find out about the tournament?
We were sitting around the pool, and people started talking about it, and we said, well, we'll try it.
What attracted you to the area, Al?
Well, my brother lived here, and my wife worked with someone else that had bought down in this area. So we came down, and we were looking around, and we saw it, and we liked it.
What had you been doing prior to moving to the area?
I worked for a commodity outfit in New York City, and, things, it was kind of tough, so I figured took my first chance to retire instead of, like a lot of other people, I guess a lot of other people don't make it. I made it.
Al, what did you do the first year as a volunteer?
Good question. Well, I did the same thing, like bagging and worked on Sunday doing the handing out the stuff, and then I worked during the week. Basically, I don't really remember what I did during the week. I mean, you're talking 16 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. A heck of a long time back.
Yeah.
You've almost been throughout the inception of the tournament.
Yeah, this is the first 4 years, right?
Well, Jay talked about yesterday that today y'all are all getting together, and you and Jay co-chair all the volunteers. He said 70 plus.
Yeah. We'll be doing that this afternoon.
Right.
And
a lot will be going on.
Yeah.
What are some of the primary concerns that folks think about oftentimes? They really want to make sure that they get certain aspects right. Is it just making it a thrill for the players who are here?
I think that's it. The players, when they come down here, they're so enthusiastic that it rubs over onto the people. And we probably have the greatest volunteers you could ever get anywhere. I mean, we don't even have to tell them what they have to do anymore. They just do it. Whether we want them to do it or not, they do it.
Have you and Jay recruited any new members recently?
We did recruit about 5, but very rarely does anybody ever leave. In fact, we've had lists for years trying to get people on. We just can't fit them in.
Why do you think volunteers keep returning year after year?
Well, sort of like I said before, because of the enthusiasm of the players, and they get hung up into it. And well, I'll tell you this too. Like I take care of the turnstiles, and there's hundreds of people just waiting to get in, and they come in there like they're like a bunch of bees looking for the honey to get in there. I mean, they open that gate and they're gone. It really is something to see.
That must be.
Are you going to try to get up there to see it this year?
Oh, at the convention center?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think Steve mentioned that a couple days ago about getting out, and I'm sure going to make an effort to be there. And that's the same aspect that keeps you coming back as a volunteer year after year.
Right.
That's fantastic, Al. What are some of the jobs that volunteers are called on to do?
Well, bagging and handing. Sunday is the biggest day because everybody comes through getting their assignments and stuff like that. And then they have some do the turnstiles and putting, driving range. Sometimes they have a driving range. I don't know if they have it this year or not. But there's a lot of things to do. We even got to a point where we had to go out in the parking lot and help park the cars. Not really help them, tell them where the spots were open.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, so just covering every base possible to make it a big success for everyone who's here.
Unbelievable. Every year they add something else on to make it interesting for us. And nobody complains, really. Nobody complains.
Year after year, Al, can you think back at this, just to wrap up, your favorite part of the tournament?
Oh, Friday, of course, when they had the playoffs. I walk around with the golfers, and we really have a good time. And what's great about the golf tournament is like they have their own pro going around with them, so there's never a problem. Like you see on a regular golf tournament where they have to call somebody over if there's a problem. They got the guy right there to do it.
Along with Jay McPherson of yesterday, the co-chair of the volunteers, and so many have been committed for so long to make this tournament a great success. Al, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Stay tuned to Gloria Marquez coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at Myrtle Beach Golf Holiday. We're focused on the 20th annual DuPont Cool Max World Amateur Handicap Championship, and we're visiting with Gloria Marquez, the editor of On the Green and On the Beach magazines, and a 20-year volunteer with the tournament. Good morning, Gloria.
Good morning, my friend.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Incredible to think about all the...
Delight to be here to talk about the tournament, yes.
And following Al and following Joan, it's very exciting. Real quick about yourself, Gloria. Are you originally from the area?
Oh, no, can't you tell from my speech? No, I'm originally a New Yorker.
Is that right?
Yes.
What brought you to Myrtle Beach?
Our son came to the University of South Carolina in Columbia, and we had stopped at the beach a couple of times when we brought him down for class, fell madly in love with it. And after Andy graduated, he decided to remain a Southerner, and we decided to better our lives. We had no longer responsibilities, and it was an opportunity to live a decent kind of life.
Yes.
We did what most people do. We divorced, but instead of divorcing each other, we divorced a way of life.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you celebrate the recognition of living in Myrtle Beach. That's very exciting.
Yes.
And to be the editor, when did you come on board with Himmelsbach Communications?
In 1984, at the same time the tournament was born. I had worked with a Caravel, and new management came in with their own staff. And Paul Himmelsbach, who thought up the idea of the tournament with Marvin Arnsdorf, needed someone who could write decent letters. I was it. And so he hired me, and I've been with the tournament then since the very, very beginning. I feel like it's wet nurse.
And to be the editor of On the Green and On the Beach magazines, you must be slammed.
No. On the Green is just twice a year. On the Beach is an annual.
Okay.
And it's work that I love, absolutely love to do. It forces me to be positive because I write articles on how wonderful the shopping is and how wonderful the dining is and how wonderful the people are. And I can't fudge it. I have to be honest.
Right.
And so I have to always be looking for the positives.
Dorrie, when you think about your initial reaction 20 years ago to the idea of having a world amateur golf tournament here in Myrtle Beach, do you remember that initial reaction?
No way.
Even though Paul had been one of the inspirations and Marvin behind putting it on, you still thought, no way.
Paul is an absolutely wonderful person who has ideas and leaves it to others to make them come to life. And I didn't think there was a possibility. He sat me down at a desk the day after, I believe it was, the first Golf Digest with the information about the tournament came out. And I had a thick pad and a supply of pens and a telephone, and I waited for the first call. We were going to have hundreds of calls. And at about 10 after 3 that afternoon, the first call came in. It wasn't rapidly followed, but after a while, they did come in.
684 golfers that
more or less.
84 around that number, which is fantastic. Gloria, we've just got a couple of minutes. I wanted to think about how the Grand Strand has benefited from hosting this tournament. What do you think the major benefits have been?
Well, financially, $100 million, give or take, is a rather large sum of money, particularly when it comes at a time that was just dead time at the Strand. That's why Paul and Marvin thought up the idea for the tournament. A recognition worldwide of the Grand Strand as a golf destination, as a family destination, just a good place to visit and to live. And my passion for it is the fact that people of such diversity come to the Strand, to the tournament, and by the luck of the draw, two persons who would not look at each other, who would cross the street to avoid each other, share a golf cart. And before the round is over, much more often than not, they are friends. They respect each other. And this is what is extraordinary. It's not just that people come to share and do and respect each other and learn about differences in the world and accept differences a lot better. You know, we've had lots of complaints about a golfer saying, don't pair him with me again. But it's never, never, never because of the ethnic background or the religious or the political. It's always because he cheated or he padded his handicap. It's always a golf thing that they are angry about, never about a people thing. It's amazing.
Those are powerful words, Gloria. I'm glad you shared that with the viewers.
Well, I'm just wondering if maybe it could be the answer to all the problems in the world. You know, everyone golf.
More tournaments, yeah. That would be a stretch. When you think about it, we've got about a minute, Gloria.
Yes.
When you think about what has contributed to the success and longevity of the event, do you think it's just that, the camaraderie, the pairings?
Yes, I do think it's it. Also, everybody wants some kind of challenge, not just a little challenge. Everybody has a feeling, I'd like to see what I can do against him. And that's what the tournament allows everyone, again, out of his own local club, local community, in the big world, to share, to compete. Great experience.
You heard her say it. Gloria Marquez, those are great words. It's a great experience. And just to think about the camaraderie, the opportunity not to judge on the basis of race or ethnicity, but instead to judge on how someone plays their game and whether they may cheat or push things a little bit.
Yes.
Gloria, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. Very special. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Joan O'Donnell, Al Dorrie, and Gloria Marquez, as well as all the volunteers for making today's Carolina People so special. Tune in to Lance Thompson tomorrow.